Thanks for joining us. I can honestly say out of all the videos I've done, this is by far one of the greatest. You're going to love this video. Stay tuned. Specifically, if you want to learn how to pick your niche, build your tribe, get that following. We're going to discuss the rules you must follow to really hyper-focus your niche. The number one secret that almost every business owner is missing. And there's a couple of hidden gems as you're following it through. Make sure to have that pen and paper ready because the gems in this thing are going to blow your mind. Whether you're already successful, just starting out, you have a hyper-focused niche, or trying to cater to everybody, no matter anywhere in between, just make sure that you have that pen and paper ready. Stay tuned. Watch this video. You're going to love every moment of it. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. Glad to have you here. Before we jump in this, Jason, do you mind just taking a moment to introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, first of all, my name is Jason Everett, and I'm one of the founders of the High Performance Salon Academy, where we specialize in working with ambitious salons that want to grow their business and actually take more time off from their business. And we help them to hit their first million, next million, and open up multiple locations. And that's all over the world right now. So, dude, thanks for having me on. I appreciate what you do every single day.
Thank you, and I appreciate you being here. For those of you who are watching, Jason was one of my mentors several times over the years before he really honed in on his niche. I know I first learned from Facebook ads and marketing, and I love your spiderweb concept. Lots of different valuable insights and training that you've done over the years. And so thank you for this opportunity to share share you with the rest of my audience. Now, that's actually what I was kind of wanted to focus on today, is you said high salon performance. And when I first knew you, I knew you from a different business when you were going more general, but then you really hyper focused on a very specific niche. Why was that?
Yeah, well, so, I mean, great question, Jason. And yeah, High Performance Salon Academy has really been something that has just completely changed our business. In fact, it's been $1 million shift. I mean, literally $1 million in shift. So I think it's probably a worthy thing to discuss.
Yeah.
If I could say like, hey, here's one ninja move that made $1 million. And I want to clarify, like, I say that as a marketer, one shift that made $1 million. The reality is that was the left-hand turn that led to about 1,000 other things that went in the right direction to make $1 million shift in business. Is that hopefully helpful to clarify that? It's not like, if you just change one thing, you'll make $1 million. It's like, we just changed a direction and it became $1 million change. Does that help? So, 12 years ago, it's almost 13, crazy enough now I think about it. Almost 13 years ago, I started a company and we were doing sales training for general market. Like our niche, or niche, if you will, was all about doing sales training and management and all these different things, but it was kind of general market, any business, any place, anytime, anywhere. And it was a really good business and it did function, operate, and it made some income. But that kind of evolved and morphed into multiple things over the course of 7 to 8 years. And then I learned about kind of this model that I'm rocking with right now. And I kept getting hammered by people saying, like, look, if you talk to people and you just say small business owners, it's not really a tight enough audience. And I fought and resisted that forever. And to be really honest, I actually I put two horses in the race. Because I'm a huge tech dork. I love video and tech and tools and all these things. And so I actually put two horses in the race. I created two companies. One was called the High Performance Salon Academy, and one was called the Video Rockstar Academy. And I literally started those the exact same time. And by the way, I still run both, but one literally makes millions of dollars. One makes dozens of dollars. So, when you look at it like that, it was kind of a no-brainer within the course of, with the first couple of months of running our High Performance Salon Academy, we had, started doing $30,000, $40,000 a month. And all of a sudden we're like, that just kept snowballing, getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it became, a multi-million-dollar business. And I think, when you look at kind of how that gets created, the biggest shift was just saying, when you talk to one person, like, I'll give you the example, Jason. If I said to you, do you know a salon owner? That's very different than I say, do you know a small business owner? And you're like, yeah, I know about like 10 random small business owners, but you can probably think of the one salon owner's face that you know, or the stylist that you know. Right. It's like you immediately see that person, right? So you immediately go, I can think of that person. When I say, who do you know that's an entrepreneur? You're like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I know some people, like, does that mom who's trying to make her second income by selling Tupperware count as an entrepreneur? Does my friend who has a bunch of business ideas who thinks he's going to get on Shark Tank count as an entrepreneur? Or does that friend of mine who runs that very large, furniture store downtown count as an entrepreneur? So like, it's very vague. And the reality is when you're specific, then people can immediately think of who to send to you. But when you're not specific and you're vague, people tend to just ignore it because they don't have somebody that they can just immediately point you to. And so the biggest shift that I can say that we made in that $1 million shift was just getting really specific and saying, look, when I say salon owner, people identify that. They would wear it as a badge of honor and say, yes, I, in fact, am a salon owner. And for me, I don't run around identifying myself as a small business owner or as who wants to say that? Or as an entrepreneur or something like that. I think it's a really important detail.
That's interesting, because when I've always thought about finding your niche, finding your tribe, really focusing in, I always thought of it because, one, I could help them a lot because I know what their problems are. Two, it makes my marketing a lot easier and a lot more targeted and a lot simpler to write. I never even considered the idea of getting really clear on my niche allows anybody I know to help send people to me easily. Yeah. I never even considered that concept.
Yeah, well, think about it this way, man. If I said, who do you know that's a firefighter? Who do you know that's a doctor? Who do you know that's an attorney? Like, if you can, and there's a couple rules about finding a specific niche targeted market. Is that number one, you have to be able to provide them with massive value now and in the future. Like, you have to get extraordinary results for them. They have to self-identify as that. They have to say, I am a firefighter, I am a whatever. So they have to self-identify. You have to want to work with them now and in the future. Like, let's say you're like, oh, I love working with, I work with attorneys. But you're like, I hate attorneys. They're scum sucking, whatever you want to say. It's like, if you hate working with them, that's not a good niche. The other one is they must be easily findable, meaning they have a group, club, association, they hang out together. Like firefighters hang out together. There's a group, there's all those things. And then the other thing is they have to perceive that they have a need and they want to work with you. They've got to be willing participants in that. So if it's like, if you're working with people who don't want to be worked with, or that industry you can't help and you can't serve, it creates a huge problem. So I think there's more rules than just saying like, can they self-identify? You have to say, can I provide them value? Do I have a track record? Do I have experience? Can I deliver them value? And so all of those things kind of snowballed into why I work in the salon industry, is because even though I didn't know it for that 12 years, I had worked with Massage Envy. I'd worked with the L'Oreal Corporation, which is Redken, Matrix, Shui Mora. And then I started working with more philosophy brands and Clarins makeup. And I actually, if you looked at my company when we met, Jason, that was called Business Refuel, which is I still own Business Refuel, and that's still a part of what we do. And I have income that generates from that. But that company had probably 50 to 60% of our client base was in the salon and spa industry, not because I had targeted them, but because every time I worked with somebody in there, it naturally generated a referral. Okay. And so my work with Massage Envy snowballed into work with other companies. And like, even just right before this call, the director of global education from Redken was texting me because she wants to bring me into other, countries and other things. And it's like, when you deliver really big for a specific audience, they will bring you back over and over and over again, because they go, oh, you're the salon guy. You're this guy. And like, they identify you, and it's, it's good and bad, right? It's like, I didn't want to be pigeonholed into, I can only work with salons. It's not really the truth. But now the resources I can create for just that industry are amplified literally times thousands.
Wow. That's awesome. And I'm thinking of all these different examples of where those have all come into play. But the main question that kind of comes into my mind, just for the sake of time, because I know we could talk about this for hours. But the main question that keeps popping into my head is, but what about the individual they know they need the niche, they know they need to get focused, they know they need to get clear, and those are some great rules to follow. I especially like, you actually want to work with them.
I know that's a silly thing, but it's real. It's real. And actually, there's another one that I left out. Can I give you one more? Because I think that's where you're going. Please. Sorry, I jumped in. The last one is, they must be able to easily afford your services. Mm-hmm. I'm like, going to let that sit for a second, because most people miss that. Like, Jason, you've heard people say this is like, I work with newly divorced single moms that have no money. And you're like, well, okay, look, I'm not saying that your heart should not be there for that person. But my question to you is, how are they going to pay for whatever it is that you want? Because I'll tell you right now, let me ask you this. Do you think newly divorced single moms, I don't know why I picked that. I'm just saying it's a group that's in pain. But like, Can they afford more coaching, or can an attorney who runs an attorney who runs a firm of over 40 lawyers afford your services more? Who's got more income to be able to pay for coaching and training? Because this was the most important thing I had to learn, Jason. What I knew has always been valuable.
Yeah.
Who I was asking for money from was what was determining my income. Catch that? So again, if I go to a newly divorced single mom and say, hey, look, I'm going to charge $2,000 an hour to work with you, they're going to say, there's no way I can afford that. I've got, I'm barely making ends meet. I can't buy food. I can't do all this. There's no way I can do that. But if I go to the corporate executive inside of a huge corporation and say, look, it's $2,000 an hour for me to come and host a webinar for you, they go, yeah, that's cool. We usually pay between $2,000 and $4,000 to do something like that. And they don't even flinch. Like, who are you trying to work with? And so sometimes people, I think, determine their level of understanding of knowledge or their self-worth by what gets reflected back to them. And my challenge to people who are watching this video is, who are you asking for money from? Because your self-worth is determined by how much money that person has. And it takes, by the way, just as much effort to ask that, again, single mom who just got divorced, it takes the same amount of effort to ask that person as it does to talk to that corporation. However, you'll in your regular life, you might find more people in your life that are single moms that just got divorced than a corporate executive from a large corporation. So there's more of those people in your life that are broke. There's less of the people in your life that have money, but it takes the same amount of effort to ask either of them the same question.
Oh, that is powerful. Now, if you didn't pick up, first thing I'm going to recommend is hit that rewind button, watch that piece again. Because even while you were going, I was thinking, it's amazing how many people we meet through it, like, especially with what we do, right? All the different business owners and individuals you meet whose self-worth is on the line, and they feel like failures, and they rip themselves apart, all because they haven't succeeded. But like you said, a lot of the times the reason why they didn't succeed is because they've set themselves up for failure by trying to go after someone who either, one, doesn't know they need what it is they offer, two, doesn't want what it is they need, or isn't willing to give money for it, or three, can't afford it. And all you're doing is setting them up, because now they're like, yes, I need it, but now I feel bad because I can't pay you for that.
Right. And so you get all these people and you come up with your own story that says, well, just nobody can afford it and people are broke. No. The people that you've been talking to can't afford it. Yeah. And so that's a real important distinction that you can make. There was a quote that I used to keep on my wall, Jason. I kept it on the wall for probably at least 3 years. It's an Eleanor Roosevelt quote. And it said, no, never let someone tell you no that doesn't have the power to say yes. Ooh. And it's a really powerful thing to think about when you talk about, and this was when I used to be in like outside sales and I had, all these other factors that went on. And so like, for me, it was like, we'll never call and like, don't let the receptionist tell you no if the receptionist can't say yes. You know what I mean? Like the receptionist doesn't even have the power to say, yes, I can buy that contract from you, but they're telling you no before they can even make the decision. Like that's, that was what that was for. But what I've come to kind of use that as a life, as a mantra is like, Jason, if I came to you and I know you have more than $100 in your bank account. Okay. But let's say you only had $100 in your bank account. And I said, Jason, I have a $500,000 Lamborghini that I need to unload like right now, this minute today. If you gave me $2,000, bro, it's yours. Cause I need that $2,000. And you're like, Jason, I would love to afford that Lamborghini. It's amazing. But it's just too expensive. Jason, it's a $2,000 Lamborghini. Give me the $2,000. It's the best thing you've ever seen. It's the best value, the best price, or whatever. You will always tell me you can't afford it and it's too expensive because of how much money you have in your bank account.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really important lesson to say, look, you can't even say yes because you can't afford to do it. Now, again, everybody be clear. Jason has more than $100, but I'm just saying like, the goal here is, in the example is like, you might go, hey, I'll go find that $2,000 and buy that from you. And again, people will do things like that. But here's the deal. What if I sell you that $2,000 Ferrari? You borrow $2,000 from a friend, and all of a sudden, the very first month, you have to pay for another $1,000 oil change in that Ferrari.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, I might own it, but I couldn't afford the repairs.
Now the Ferrari's a burden. Now it's a pain in the ass. Now you're on the phone with the dealership telling them it's too expensive and all. It's like, So again, you got to be really mindful of, if you want to make more money, you got to start asking people who are used to spending more money to buy from you. And I think that's the thing that, I mean, I don't know how many years it took me to learn that, man, but I still learn it every single day, is like, if I just really ask myself, and I'm half coaching me as I'm talking right now, is that if I want to double the amount of income that I make, I got to find people who are used to spending double the amount of money that my existing clients are. Truth.
Wow, that is powerful. So I'm curious, because there's still one thing weighing on my head, and
Sure.
that is, because I know I've been there myself. Heck, I'm probably still there. I always go back to my avatar, my ideal client. How do I niche? How do I really focus niche so that I can get the biggest results for the smallest group of people? That way I can make that big impact. And there's been some incredible things from making sure that they have, like, really focusing on, they identify as it, or that they hang out together so it's easier to find them. But the question I have, and you touched on it, was when you chose this industry, you chose two, but salons were already half your industry or half your clientele.
Yeah.
Is that suggesting that the best way to find your niche is to look at who you work with now that can afford you, that you can get great value? Or do you have a method for that? Because I'd imagine that's where most people get stuck. Maybe it's just me, though.
I've given this advice before to people, and sometimes it screws them up more. So just, if this doesn't work for you, just try it, see if it works. Because I've given that advice, and people go, well, I looked at my client list and I don't have 50% of my clients that are that industry. It's all over the board. I would just ask you this: who do you like to get results for? Who likes to get results from you? Maybe it's only 20% of your database. Like, Jace, I don't know who you're working with all the time on a regular basis, but like, let's say you've got one plumber that you like working with, and you're like, you know what? If I had 50 more Robs that are Rob the plumbers, I'd be a happy dude. My life would be complete. Or if you were like, you know what? I really like, Sarah, who works with restaurants and she does catering all that. If I had just a whole bunch of caterers, the question becomes, who do you really like to serve? And there's a couple other like kind of secret formulas. If you digested with me for hours, I'd probably get into.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the other thing is, what's an industry that's drastically underserved? Like in the world of coaching, if you look at it this way, when I do my coaching masterminds, like I get together with other coaches, everybody and their grandma worked with gym owners or doctors or lawyers or attorneys. And they go, who do you work with? And I go, salon owners. And they all go, huh?
Don't
Yeah.
Does that?
Salon owners. That's kind of interesting. Really? Salon owners, huh? And I go, yeah, because they're an underserved community. Like, what's an underserved community? Dog groomers? I don't know. What's another underserved community? Is it like, I just got a call from somebody today asking me, hey, do you know anybody who runs a community like yours, but for clothing designers? And I'm like, no, I don't. But like, hey, is there a community? Is there a mastermind community for clothing designers? If not, how many are there? And how big is that industry? Now I look at it and go, Jason, how many salons and barbershops and spas are in your city?
And
Hundreds.
10 just popped into my head, just off the top
10
of my
you
head.
can think of for like driving down the street that you know about, right?
Yeah.
So the other question is how massively available are they? And then how many people serve that? Like in my industry right now, we've been doing High Performance Salon Academy for almost 4 years. There are really 3 major players in the space. And within about a year and a half, we became the 4th major player, and we took out one of them, and we're gunning for the other 2.
Wow.
And I really do believe within 5 years, we will be the predominant player in the space, off a space that had a 30-year run with other coaches and trainers that have been holding that space. There's really only been 2 major competitors. So you read the book Blue Ocean Strategy, right? It's like, you got to go find where it's like, where you look where everybody else is fishing. There was nobody fishing there, or there was only a couple fishermen in that pond. And by the way, they viciously protect that. And I've had lawsuit level problems with going into that space because they have these like stranglehold contracts with vendors and all these other, and they're like, who are you, this young kid who came in here, because they're all 30, 40 years older than me. And they're like, who are you thinking that you can come into our industry? We've been doing this for 30 years. You don't know anything. And I was like, cool, watch me. And we just did some incredible things. And people have just come to us and said, we like how you're doing it. You're not the old school, you're the new school. And we made it happen. I mean, we were kind of the Pepsi that showed up on the scene when Coke's been there for 35 years.
Oh, that is powerful. And I would love to keep this conversation going, but I noticed the time. And so I leave everybody on the same cliffhanger I am, because I know I have at least a half a dozen questions, which then have a dozen questions each. But I wanted to say thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. if you're watching this video, whether you're a salon owner or of a business of any kind, watch this again, listen carefully, take out the pen and paper, probably multiple colors, make some notes, because there are some incredible insights here. Some of them I've caught, some of them I know went under the surface, so I know I'll be watching this again. So I want to say thank you, Jason. As always, powerful content and a wealth of information. To find out more, if there are any salon owners watching this, where would they go find out more?
Yeah, well, look, if you're a salon owner, you can go to highperformancesalon.com or at highperformance salon on pretty much any social media you can possibly think of. So we're on pretty much everything. But if you want to track down more information from me, just look up Jason Everett, Everett. You can go to jasoneverett.com or find me there. And just like you, Jason, there's plenty of people that are in my world that are not salon owners that still pay attention to my content. And although I have mountainous amounts of information for salon owners, I do have general business stuff on YouTube, on Facebook, and lots of just content that will be valuable for anybody who wants to just understand more about marketing in their business.
Awesome. Thank you. I know I personally am asked if I want to increase the income in my salon all the time for that very reason, because, you know, it's amazing how much resource you can get and take out salon and insert any business type here. The value is incredible. So thank you for that. Well, once again, for more videos just like this, be sure to subscribe. We got a lot more coming. We've had some incredible videos in the past, so keep watching the channel. Only powerful individuals who have done what it is you want to do. We're going to be connecting with them, asking a lot of questions, so be sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below. We want to hear from you, hear your thoughts, hear your stories. But until next time, I'm Jason, and thank you, Jason Everett. I really do appreciate it. And until then, we'll see you in the next video.
Dude, my pleasure.